Hello, I'm Hannah Kepros. I currently work as a Senior Marketing Associate for PatientWise, an ad agency that specializes in marketing and advertising for clinical research sites. In this role, I propose, create, and implement nationwide advertising campaigns. I facilitate everything from television, radio, print, and digital campaigns to larger corporate marketing strategies, branding, and production, such as community outreach, website builds, and logo design. Today we are going to touch briefly on print advertisements for patient recruitment. So let's begin. As you all may already know, in the past 5 years, the marketing world has often questioned the sustainability of print advertisements in our new digital age. Because of this, in June of 2012, Forbes magazine published an article about this very issue, yet took a stance that seemed surprising at the time. Forbes stated, quote, "While many businesses have completely migrated their advertising efforts to the web because of cost effectiveness, exposure potential, and convenience, print still maintains its stance as a powerful and necessary component of an ad campaign." End quote. The key points the article paid tribute to were how print still offers tangibility, credibility, branding, target marketing, engagement, and availability. So, if this is the case, how does this relate to the benefit of using print for patient recruitment in a clinical research setting? Because if you are listening, you probably know how difficult advertising in this industry can truly be. The first print benefit mentioned in the Forbes article was tangibility. This is fairly self-explanable, but specifically important in the healthcare industry. People or patients are often not making off-the-cuff decisions in relation to their health. There's often a lot of research and thought that goes into making medical decisions. Therefore, having a tangible reminder is a smart idea, whether that be a brochure, a cutout from a newspaper, something posted up on the fridge, or something you can stick inside a daily planner. Potential participants are more likely to go back and reference something that they physically and tangibly have. The second benefit was credibility. I am not sure if this is because newspapers are an original form of advertisement or if it's because newspapers are more than likely paid ads, but whatever it is, print advertisements always seem to have some sort of legitimacy. That is not saying that an internet ad does not, but the likelihood of something being a scheme, such as a pop-up ad or spam, is very unlikely if it's in print. As Forbes stated, quote, "Viruses are enough to make people weary of clicking. There is no imminent danger in a print ad." End quote. The next benefit is branding. Print advertisements are just another form of media where you can show off your brand identity. Make sure to include your logo if you have one. Make the ad feel consistent to what your site represents. Use the same color scheme and fonts to also make it recognizable. Although you may be advertising for a specific study, that does not mean you can't also use these ads and this opportunity to market your site as a whole. At PatientWise, we work on campaigns featuring numerous indications targeting numerous different demographics. But one thing that I can say through my experience is that often a lot of studies we work on are targeting older populations. That brings up Forbes' fourth print benefit, target marketing. According to a study posted June of this year, Pew Research Center stated that the demographic with the most newspaper readers was age 65 and older. That means 50% of all people that read the newspaper are 65 plus. Trickling down from there, the next demographic with high readership is age 55 to 64, with 38%, and it gradually lessens as the readers get younger. This really helps narrow down targeting for an advertiser. For example, we would not necessarily want to advertise a birth control study in the newspaper because hitting females ages 18 to 35 may be difficult. But something like an osteoarthritis or COPD study may do really well. The exception to this would be specialty newspapers. Print publications that specifically target an even more narrowed audience can and should be used when possible. Examples of these would be a college newspaper or something like a golf newspaper or magazine. Examples would be to advertise something like that birth control study in the college one and something like a tendinitis study in the golf one. The next benefit that Forbes brings up is engagement. Forbes simply stated, quote, "Consumers are more engaged when reading printed material. Unlike websites, which are often skimmed in as little as a 15-second visit," end quote, "there truly is something about having a tangible newspaper in hand." And finally, the last benefit to keep in mind is availability. Forbes states it best when saying, quote, "With more and more businesses relying solely on the internet for their advertising needs, the decline of print publication can actually be used as a marketing advantage. The publications are less crowded, allowing more room for your ad to shine, and possibly even cheaper prices for that ad space." End quote. Use this to your advantage. The prices in your local papers may be very affordable, and in conjunction with some of the print aesthetic tips I'm about to mention, print may be a really good option for your site. Now that I have stated my claim that print can still be a good platform to advertise your clinical research study, how should you go about doing so? What should your ad look like? Reiterating the tips I mentioned earlier, you really want to take the opportunity to brand your site. Not only is this an overarching benefit to your business, but it also adds credibility. These two ads were designed for this webinar, and both are advertising a Crohn's disease clinical research study. Take a look at ad number 1. You can clearly see the PatientWise logo and how the overall color scheme stays fairly consistent. Ad number 2 lacks any indication of the research site, which makes the ad seem questionable. Providing a logo, or even a site name in the least, allows the potential participant to do some further research if they feel necessary. They have the ability to look up your website or simply Google your site name. At least giving them that opportunity gives them trust in your business. When you do not provide that information, it appears as if you are intentionally hiding something, which is a big red flag. Another important feature of a print ad is the picture or graphic. It has to grab attention. In ad number 2, the woman is clutching her stomach because, of course, as we know, Crohn's is an inflammatory bowel disease that causes abdominal pain. You might ask, why is this a bad example? Because isn't the photo a really good indication of what this ad could be about? You're right, and we see a lot of clinical research ads that look just like this, but that's just it. We see a lot of clinical research ads that look just like this. We are saturated with the same types of ads all the time. You want your site and study to stand out. Another thing to note from a patient perspective is sometimes these stereotypical photos are actually too vague, and without a heading that really stands out, a lot of these ads get bypassed. For example, say you are someone who is diagnosed with Crohn's disease. You may see ads like number 2 all the time, and of those ads, maybe 1/4 are targeted directly to you and your diagnosis. Some may be about IBS, others about an overactive bladder, or maybe an ad simply about menstrual cramps. So after seeing ads with similar pictures that are not targeted to your disease, you may start to scan past any at all that have pictures like this. But let's say you saw an ad with a graphic of popcorn or strawberries, foods that are often a big no if you are diagnosed with Crohn's, something very specific to your diagnosis and your fears or worries. You would certainly be more in tune to that ad and that message. Pair that with a large and very readable heading that clearly states an indication, and the probability of catching the potential participant's eye only increases. All in all, get inside the head of whoever you are marketing towards. Sometimes this takes a little additional research, but in the end it may be a really smart move. Other things to know is make sure there's a strong call to action. In ad number 1, we see that it says, "Contact PatientWise today," whereas there is no call to action in ad number 2. There is also nothing aesthetically appealing about number 2. Make the ad interesting by drawing the eye different places. Although color ads may be an additional charge, do it if you can. It really makes the ad pop instead of looking like every other text on the newspaper page. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this webinar, it would be that print is still a viable media outlet to utilize. Like any form of advertising, it takes a little research and thought. Not every one of your studies is going to do well in the newspaper, but there is the possibility that some will really hit it out of the park. Be conscious of who your target demographic is, how your ad is designed, and how your site is presented. Those 3 things will really help you succeed. If you have any questions at all, or would like anything explained in more detail, please contact me via email or phone. I would love to answer your questions as best I can. Thank you for tuning in to this webinar.